Ready to go? This meeting is being live streamed and it will be available online later on. If not happy with this, please leave this meeting now. Okay. Welcome to you all to the authority meeting. We'll start with apologies. Nobody's apologized. Just Kira and Gwyn. Kira will be slightly late. And Elvin will be a little late as well. And then chairman's statement. I haven't been anywhere, but I've attended different meetings, committees with Audit Wales and with the government. But nothing, I haven't been anywhere, apart on the pack since the last meeting. So we'll hear an update, the corporate update. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Usually, as you're aware, I do this orally, but I've given you a written report this time. So I think I'd find it more useful. It's better, yes. Give you more of an opportunity to look at things that have come up. I've divided it into local and national issues. The national issues, obviously good news on the budget allocation. We've received confirmation that will be close to inflation, if not slightly better than inflation. So it's given us in a stronger financial position. And in paragraph 11, the task and finish group has been set up by Tirwedd Cymru Landscape Wales to look into efficiency and modernisation of designated landscape bodies. I haven't seen much of their work yet. They've only just started. You've seen the membership of the group there. So as that develops, I will update you on any progress. There's some work being conducted by Welsh Government in paragraph 14 on governance and accountability of members in Wales's national parks. That's following a recommendation by Audit Wales, where they asked us to develop a framework, accountability framework for each member of national park members. So we're meeting, discussing that this afternoon. The chair and myself will be meeting them this afternoon. I have a few concerns that we've raised with them, but again, I'll update you as that work progresses. You've seen our response to the proposed Glyndŵr National Park, so I won't go into detail on that. There's also an update on the national park partnerships. As you can see, they've appointed a new chief executive officer, as well as a communications director as well. And I've added the annual reports for information as well. Happy to take questions on that. I don't think there's any specific that I want to go into in detail on the local issues. There's a lot happening on Plas Tân y Bwlch. It's moving very quickly forward, and paper will be presented in the working group in February, I think. And I think before our members in March, there's so much to be discussed on the Plas and so many directions we can take. Be good for us to we'll hold things on in an open session at the Plas. 13th of March, that's when the meeting will be. Thank you, Naomi. Work is ongoing on better acquired information. I know I've raised it in the past. Still moving forward, slightly slower than we'd hoped, partly due to Plas Tân y Bwlch, but it is a mid-term project that we're developing here. Obviously, this is based on drawing external funding to cover this. What we need to keep in the short term, we make sure that we don't take our eyes off the ball about how it's run in the short term. So they're putting more emphasis on that now. Good news on Ffermwyr Bro, there's more money coming in, and we're recruiting further officers there. That's moving forward positively. Canada Landscape Partnership has come to an end. Very sad to say. The report is coming before the working group in March. Or in March. This month, you should say. Yes. And there's a conference on the Celtic rainforests in April. And that's it for myself. I'm happy to take any questions there on anything to come up. And a couple of other things as well, sorry, before I draw it to a close. You've received an email on the National Parks of Britain in the Cairngorms this year. That's in September. I think I discussed it with the chairman. I think 2 members and 2 officers usually attend the conference. If you can put your names forward, the chair and myself will discuss who can go if more than 2 names are put forward for this. One other thing, we have been invited to put in an application for underspend last year from Welsh Government. We're not sure how much is available. So we have put in quite a significant application to that, things that need to be spent by the end of March. So it's quite a constraint to what we can do there, but we have put in an application for that. Thank you. Thank you. 2 quick questions. One, I'm very pleased that we've managed to recruit a senior planning officer from Conway. Or, no, it's Wrexham, is it? Oh, my geography. And that he can speak Welsh and English. That's great. Are we in full capacity now in the planning department with regards to staff? We are, yes. Yes, for the first time in a long time, we're at full capacity. So things are going very well there. And then the 2 posts, the Ffermwyr Bro posts. Are they 2 additional posts? Because we have 3 Ffermwyr Bro officers, don't we? So are they 2 additional posts? Yes. There's more money coming in from Welsh Government for the next 2 years. So they will be extra posts to the current structure. And for what then? 1 or 2 posts, 2 officer posts. There will be 5 Ffermwyr Bro officers. And there will be an administrative officer, but there will be an assistant as well, officer. So there'll be 6 in total across Eryri, Penllyn and Anglesey. And that's what we decided, that we were going to appoint more staff rather than distributing the money out to the project. There's more money for the project as well. There's more than the 710,000, is it? There's an additional 100,000 has come in addition to the increase. But I'll have to check the figure. And that's in addition to the posts, is it? Yes. No, that's moving forward very positively. There's so much interest in during the first year. So it's significant that the Welsh Government have given us extra funding on this. We've been very successful. I was in the Ysgwrn in a meeting with Iwan Ifan, and it was very interesting, yes. And lots of farmers were there.
Yeah, just question, Beth.
Just a quick question. We've discussed this information centre in Betws y Coed. Is there anything in mind? Something in mind regarding Bedd Gelert and Pen y Pass? Nothing in Bedd Gelert. We decided not to, the opportunities to draw down additional funding were restricted in Bedd Gelert and in Aberdyfi. So we haven't done any work on those 2. In Pen y Pass, there are opportunities. So it's small scale that we're going to complete this year. There is an opportunity to do something in the midterm there as well. But with Plas-Tanabulch and Betws y Coed being in hand at the moment, we don't overextend ourselves. It will be funded at some point, but we don't have the capacity to do it at the moment. Okay, thank you. That's where that's the 2 locations where the opportunity to work further in the future. Just a comment, Gwyther. Thank you for the report, the written report. It works, especially when there's so many things. positive things to be reported back on. And we do have negative things in as well. And just a quick comment. I'd just like to make a note. Welcome the budget allocation. I think that's an important, that's a very positive matter. I know that there will be further papers regarding this. There are things included in the paper which have long-term obligations and can change. I was looking at the working group in paragraph 12, the task and finish group. It's very interesting to know if there'll be any change or if there'll be a steer about our statutory requirements coming out of that. It's something that we should be watch out for. It's very easy to see these things and not think about how they can affect us in the long term, but that's something to keep an eye on. I would expect that they will look at that. Yes. Then we can see what the obligations, what comes out of that and how we react to those in due course. I'm not going to raise anything on Pan y Bwlch. Taking it to discussions ongoing, and there will be further detail on that. And just the last thing, I'm very pleased to see of the governance improvements as well. There's a lot of things, but I'm looking forward to hear updates on this. So I'm very happy to propose that we accept the report. Can we have someone to second that? Can a show of hands, please? Happy? We'll move on to item 3. Iwan comes in on this, but just to let you know that he's lost his voice. Nobody's come in on that. Any declarations of interest? Item 4? No one? Okay. We move on to item 5. I'd like to propose that the meeting of the authority held in December 2025, will someone second that? Can we have a show of hands? Any questions arising from the minutes? No? Okay. We move on to item 7 and we're back to Jonathan again. The action sheet. There are 2 actions there. They're ongoing at the moment. So we haven't resolved them yet or completed them yet. Everyone happy with that? We move on to item 8. Oh, I'm not sure. The authority's budget, is it Dewi or Sian who'll start on this? Thank you very much. I'd like this is the budget for 26-27. What we're asking you to do is to recommend the budget, the revenue budget, and the capital budget for the next year. The revenue budget of 9 million pounds and the capital budget of 2,925,780,000 pounds. At the last meeting in December, we presented the base of forecast of what we expected would be in the budget for this year. And what we'd foreseen at the moment was the 2%. We've been quite conservative with it, a 2% increase in the budget. As it turned out, things improved. There was a feeling that it possibly would be better than we'd foreseen. And we have seen an increase of 4% in the core budget from Welsh Government. And that means that there's a 4% uplift from the councils as well. So that means that there's a significant increase in the core funding of 139. So that's good news. It means that we can set a budget without making much use of our reserves. So as what the report does, it states out what the main matters that come up from the budget. The increase in wages, the staff costs are our main costs, and we have a provision of 3%. It's been included for 26/27. The reason for that is that we're looking at the profile, our current staff profile, and also we're looking at what we foresee will happen over the pay increase settlement. Usually, this is agreed upon in October, November, and then it will be backdated then to the 1st of. So in order to present, we expect a 3% increase in the staff pay inflation. If it's more than that, we'll have to find the difference. But if it's less, that there'll be less of a gap. So which would be good news. Other things that's worth making a note of, the expenditure on Plas Tân y Bwlch has come back into the budget, because that we have agreed to continue to retain Plas Tân y Bwlch for the time being. So over the past 2 years, if we've financed it out of other sources rather than including in the main budget, we have drawn it back in this year because we do think that we'll still retain Plas Tân y Bwlch in the future. So it's come back into the core budget. But that's so due to the grant that we've received, it hasn't had a significant impact on the budget for the next years. And without reserves, at 5 of our budget, we've foreseen that we will use around 618,500 from the authorities' reserves. That's his expenditure that we plan for from the reserves. So there's more detail to be had on page 27 in your package, Appendix 1, where it explains where we see the money will come out of our reserves. And the levy, which is in part 6, a grant from the government, which is just over 499,000, which with the council's contribution gives us a budget of just under £6 million. So you can see at the bottom of page 25 of your package in paragraph 6.4, what we've set the budget today of 9,132,100. And then you see in the table it's there, it's the funding source of that expenditure, where we expect the money to come from. 4.5 million, more or less, from the government, 1.5 million from the council, net contribution from reserves for 618,500, and also we expect other grants during the year. But we've noted around 2.4 million. But that does mean that we continue with a deficit of £139,000. It is a deficit, but it is money that we have in different sources where we can cope with that deficit. And what is important is it's far less than we'd foreseen a few months ago. We said in the budget last year, the deficit that we'd forecast was significantly higher. So the budget is a balanced one, and I'm very pleased that we've been able to present a budget like this to you. There are further details in Appendix 1, and that's what sets out where we see the change in the budget, the incremental changes. What we've done, we've taken the last year's, the current year that was in 25-26 was 8.2 million. And as you see from Appendix 1 are the changes, what's adapted in order to come to the figure that we have for this year. As I said, that there will be changes in the further for wages in 26-27. But what we see and what I talked about last year, there has been a reduction of 3% in the pension contributions. This is due to the situation of Gwynedd Pension Fund, which is in a strong situation, which means that you as an employer can I can see a reduction of 3% this year. But the Park Authority is one of the 5 employers within the councils, the 3 councils and the police. And what that means is that in order to get rid of the volatility that you can get in pension schemes, the contribution can't increase from one to another or more than 3% or either way, higher or low. If it goes up more than 3% and it can go down more than 3%. In situations where the pension scheme is in a strong position, what it means that we've seen a reduction in the contributions, but that mechanism has also been put in because there are times where the pension scheme wasn't fully funded. So that gives us some stability as an employer. But it's good news. Saving us over 139 in the contributions for last year. So the reduction net in staff costs. There is an increase in other expenditures. You'll see that in part 3 of expenditure 1, there's an increase in inflation and insurance, health and safety, just a general increase in inflation. As the Chief Exec said, the leather project has come to an end. That then means a reduction in 25,000. So the change net in other expenditures, apart from staff, is 95,100, but also balancing against that, with quite a few changes in income as well. An increase in grants, but as you see, there are 500,000 that we've included in the budget by increasing the packing income. Increasing any income streams carries a certain risk, but we feel that it is a reasonable line, and we have discussed it in detail within the authority and the committees. So in order to set the budget, we have increased the packing target 500,000. And the issues we've seen an increase in the information centres of 40,000. And where we do foresee an increase in income plus we do expect that the interest from the banks, we've been quite careful setting the budget in 25-26 because we know that interest had been high, but it was something wouldn't last. But we do foresee that there'll be further income coming in this year. So we have budgeted for an extra additional 50,000 to come in next year. So as you see there, we are budgeting with an increase in income of over 500,000 for next year. This further increase in the expenditure, the capital expenditure, expect 1.5 million increase there. So you see in Appendix 1 that you see the total revenue account budget of 9,132,135. Where there'll be £6,000 coming in from the Welsh Government and the councils. So as I said, there'll be a deficit of 100. The deficit is much better than what we'd foreseen, and I am confident that we have the reserves which can cope with that situation. What you have in reports 2, 3, and 4 is that budget of 9.1 million set out in different ways with some further detail. Appendix 2 sets it down per department, and Appendix 3 sets out the type of expenditure. Where you can see that staffing is the greatest one, and Appendix 4 is in further detail. But those 2, 3, and 4 then bring you to the 9,132,135. Appendix 5, as I said, that is the capital expenditure. You see there an increase. There's been an increase of what is spent from 25-26, but we've also set the capital budget just under £3 million. The detail of those plans, I don't intend to go through all the details now, but if you have any questions on them, I'm happy to take any questions. But that's the capital budget that we intend to set for next year. Appendix 6 and 7 talk about the revenue reserves utilised. As I said, we do have very healthy reserves, and we feel that this is something which is reasonable to do so. 153,500 in the revenue reserves and 465,000 on capital reserves. As you can see there, there are 4 capital projects who use the reserves. And then the next item, we're talking in further detail of financing capital projects. So I hope that gives you some background on the budget situation for next year. It's far healthier than we'd foreseen or forecast. And I recommend that we can present these to you and that you accept these as an authority. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Sorry, Joe. Or Joe would like to propose in second. Anybody like to ask anything? Yes? Can we have a show of hands, please? Okay. So we'll move on to item 9. Is it Sian or Dewi? This is the report that we will also provide you each year. That's something that we need to do with the code of practice. So we need to present this capital strategy. Just to explain, no, you've passed the budget in the previous item, but what this does, in reference to the prudential code, we need to present the capital strategy to show how we spend the capital. As I said in the previous statement, you've set the budget. Set the budget in the previous item, and what you see in table 1 in your report, page 35 of your package, it compares really how the capital expenditure next year in the budget compares with what's happened in previous years. You've seen that we are budgeting due to the situation and the opportunities available. We are going to finance far more in 26-27 than what we've seen in 27. 2.3 sets out the key capital projects of 26-27, and as well as those projects, there is capital expenditure happening in matters like assets and IT, etc. And vehicle replacements. So there is a program of updating as assets as well as the key schemes that we have, which are financed by grants. But you have approved the budget, as I said, of 9 million. In table 2 at the end of page 35 of your package, you see that we use the authority's resources. Sydd yn rhoi cyfle i rhoi gyflawni nifer o'r cynlluniau cyfalaf. Means that we're able to second part of the report. There are 2 parts of the report, really. The capital strategy and also the treasury management. This is something that we have to produce each year, and which sets the borrowing limit in order to conform with the statutory requirements, and also just so that puts us in a, if anything happened or anything came up and that we needed to borrow, it is reasonable for us to set up an affordable borrowing limit. What we set out, how much we're willing to borrow, what we did last year and the previous year, and we foresee that we will set it in a similar manner. We've set a limit of 500,000 as a limit that we can borrow up to that amount. Can I just emphasize, we don't intend to do it and we have no plans to do so. But it is reasonable to set an borrowing limit that do give us the flexibility that we can borrow up to 500,000 if we needed it. It's also, we have put an operational boundary of 100,000, which was but we'd have to, we'd flag up any borrowing that we do up to that limit, either before or after the 100,000. So this is something which is that it's reasonable for us to set an affordable limit, borrowing limit. In 3.6 on page 37, this is just to make a note of. We don't have a long list in the authority of institutions where we can invest in. There's 7 there that all their names you're familiar with, but there's no intention to invest with any one of those or any niche institutions. They're all high street banks, as well the DMO, which is a debt management office. So that's the safest investment that we can make. But in reality, you don't get as much interest back. So, but as you see, they're all high street banks that you're familiar with. And I don't foresee that there be any risk in investing with those institutions. But as we mentioned previously, we do expect to see a higher interest rate from the banks, and we have budgeted with that but possibly 50,000 more in this year than we had in last year's budget. But the interest rates are starting to come down at the moment. But we've still focused. We predict that we will see money coming in from those. And one thing we need to consider really, that the money doesn't come in and go out at the same time. Possibly we'll have, at times we will have a bit of cash coming in and we'll be able to get interest from it before we spend it. But that's what we have in part 3 of the budget, They aren't necessarily things that we will take action upon. The rest of the report, I don't think there's anything major that I need to draw attention to. This is a standard report that we present each year to be part so that you can approve this strategy so that but as I said, I don't have anything major further to add there unless you want to ask a question or anything. So the recommendations that we have at the bottom of page 39, there are 4 parts to it. Just to note, there is no intention to borrow monies for capital purposes, but we have set limits just in case, as a precautionary measure, to approve no change in the authority borrowing limit, as I said, to adopt the capital borrowing strategy for 26-27, as outlined in 3.3 of the report, and lastly, to adopt investment strategy for 26-27, as outlined in paragraphs 3.5 and 3.14 of the report. As I said, I'd ask you to approve this because this gives us the leadership to the channel team about how to take action. Shall I take the 4 all together? Yes. Does anyone like to ask a question or make a comment or propose anything? Delyth has proposed. Anyone like to second? Delyth second. Can we have a show of hands, please? Great, thank you very much.
Cynllunio grant pennaeth cadwriaeth y coed ag amaeth Rhys Owen, ydy'r Rhys yma?
Dove Conservation will be giving the next report. INRS grant scheme. Rhys will be joining us, I believe. Any minutes?
Bore da pawb, dwi'n cymuned disgwyl.
Good morning, everybody. I take it you were waiting for me? Yes, you're right there. Over to you. Okay, thank you. Apologies that I can't join you, but I'm with Welsh Government meeting about the SFS scheme. In front of you, you have a report. When I spoke to several of you recently, we were waiting for a response to two INRS applications that had been submitted. They have now been offered to us as an authority. And the document in front of you outlines what they are and the associated risks. In summary, they've given us less time to deliver these schemes than we had hoped for, but we have started discussions with Welsh Government officers to try and extend that to March 2029, because it should make sense, because it would be the same financial year. So I can't see technically what problems that would cause them. Basically, it involves when the next round of the NRS schemes are available and are released. But that shouldn't affect the timing of being able to deliver this, in my opinion. So we've asked for an extension to March 2029, which gives us an additional winter to undertake capital work, and especially seasonal work on trees and habitats and planting. So hopefully they'll see sense and allow that. I'm pretty keen, really. There are, of course, risks involved with both schemes. Recruitment is a specific one. It will give us a bit of a headache. Will we be able to get somebody to actually deliver them? And if not, it puts a lot of pressure on the team, which is pretty stressed at the moment in any case. It is a real risk. But claiming back from Welsh Government, the danger is that we could deliver some, but not being able to deliver it in full, and the obligations of that, because we have a really great track record, and it would tarnish that somewhat if we weren't to use the funding fully and not being able to claim it back in full. And the second risk is that we'd have to work with the RPW, which is the Welsh Government's payment system. It's a non-facial process. Everything is via email, and answers can take a really long time to sort out. And so those are the two main considerations that we have. I've spoken to the team, and they're confident and keen to go for it, and so we're submitting it to you for your discussion. Hopefully you will agree that we accept the offers that have been made to us. Does anybody have any questions or any comments for his?
Mr. Cadeirydd, mae Tim mae law I fyny.
Tim has his hand up, I believe.
Diolch Rhys.
Thanks, Rhys. Just with regards to the risks, and thanks for drawing our attention to the specific risk relating to recruitment. Is there anything that we can do differently, or increase the chances of being able to recruit to these roles now, if this was approved by us? The trees one, I'm less concerned about that one, because
ar gyfer y swyddog ar y wnion yn fanno, ar dalgylch yn fanno, mae gennym ni aelod o staff mewnol sydd yn gweithio rhan amser ag yn awyddus I gynyddu oriau fysa'n ymgymeryd â darn o'r swydd arall, yr hanner swydd os diciwch chi. A wedyn y rheolwr prosiect ydy'r un sydd yn
Apologies for that. The feed from the HQ froze for several minutes. We do have internal members of staff who are on short-term contracts that are coming to an end. The timing isn't brilliant. It's an additional year's agreement as an option for them, but it is an option. So I'm not overly concerned about the trees one. It's the farming one that I'm a bit concerned about. Regenerative farming, that is. It's a specialist element, and that would maybe be a bit of a headache, but we do have a backup plan. I have had discussion with one of the two of the ones that are operational on Ffermio Bro at the moment to see if they'd be interested to move over to deliver this. They're considering it, and then would make things a bit easier. I'm interviewing for the Ffermio Bro scheme tomorrow, and we could tell those that are applying tomorrow there may be an additional job to backfill Ffermio Bro. So we're juggling at the moment, hopefully making things easier to deliver and reducing the risk of exposure not being able to deliver. And it is a concern that the workload of officers is problematic already, and adding to that can be a risk. I just want to understand what's happening in relation to that. Anyway, thank you for your reply. Tim, first of all, I'd like to welcome this. It gives us an opportunity to strengthen and strengthen our relationship with the landowners in the park, and I'm glad to see that this is likely to go ahead. Working with network-friendly farming network, there are some great people who might be attracted to work full-time on this. I know one or two that would be quite keen. And Professor in Bangor, perhaps he may have some students who are looking for jobs. This is something new, like you said, and it's I'm sure he has people in the university who would be very interested in this. I know him quite well. I'm sure he could sort something out. The only other thing is, with the figures that you've noted, the 848,000, does this include staff costs? Yes, and how much of that is staff cost? It works out about a third, basically. What's interesting about this is, in order for the procedure, the Welsh Government have provided the standard rates for everybody who is administrating on INRS. So it's a bit different to what we pay as an authority, but it may make things different as an authority. But the salaries are all there. If we go beyond March 2029, we would be going beyond 3 years, and we would have to consider redundancies. It depends how much service they'd have with us. I've had a discussion with an industry-friendly farming gang already to see if they're interested. But that is an interesting discussion. That is having a discussion with Professor to see who they have there. I don't know, maybe we'd have to rejig it to say that it would be in training with regard to the salary rates and experience. It's worthwhile trying, and it's a good backup plan. But best of luck. Is well done. John Pugh Roberts. Yes, very good. The right tree in the right place. What type of scheme will that be? We have a lot of work on certain trees that are seeding into SSSI and SAC areas and not being eradicated. And so on impact, the peatland scheme doesn't allow us to remove them from the deep peatland unless we undertake hydraulic work, that is closing the ditches or reprofiling. They won't let us go in there and remove the trees, so there's quite a lot of work on the ranges in Traws and Waingrefolen. Those have already been noted, and we have conifer parcels that were planted at the end of the 70s. They're coming to the end of their lives. They are very square in the landscape where different rare birds also nest, and we're hoping to plant native trees instead of those with less square lines and make it fit into the landscape and attractive for native species as well. And it will involve work on native woodlands, which need to be more viable and make more resilience for climate change. It's a bit of a catch-all, this one. Regenerative farming, this is something that's quite new. And it's pretty specialist, isn't it? You have different types of plants that you can grow. You need somebody who is pretty experienced to do that, more so than the right tree in the right place, because you need quite a bit of information, background information. There's quite a lot of money for paying specialist consultants. There are several of them from Yorkshire. We don't have anybody local, but we can draw in the expertise, which is advantageous. It's the beginning of something new with regard to how much input is putting into farming. There is a lot of statistics to say that are let input, which is great for the environment, and more variety of plants, which is great again for biodiversity. And so it's not innovative, but it is relatively new, and it's not being done a lot in Eryri at the moment. It's pretty exciting, really. I'd like to thank the section. As farmers, we work really well with the section, and hopefully we will do in the future. I'd just like to reiterate that we're very grateful for the work and the cooperation that happens with the farmers as well.
Joe, did you have your hand up earlier? No. Okay.
Joe?
Tim, sorry, question?
Oh, Tim.
O'n i just eisiau awgrymu Hywel Morgan, Plant Life.
Was it Hywel Morgan, Plant Life? She works with the Nature Friendly Farming Network. He's a Welsh from Bannau Brycheiniog, who has quite a bit of experience in this type of work. Okay, thank you very much. Ivor, just a quick question, really. I don't know if it's Ivor's feed that's freezing or if it's HQ's.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry a minute. Yeah. Gen ni allwedd, real life yma. Gen ni allwedd I fatha coed brodorol.
We have access to native trees, or it's something that we need to extend the project in Plas Tân y Bwlch. Is this something that we can add on? Should we put more emphasis on that, and is that a solution for problems that we have? We're one step ahead of you here. We are already looking to extend our nurseries. We've lost our one in Henfais. It's gone back to the university at the end of the Carneddau scheme. But over the past years, we've increased the capacity of our nurseries and grown our own nurseries, and we've run trainee schemes, and there are several sources coming together here. We have national grant money for another 3 years as well. which provides us with capacity to grow our own plants, and there's ability here to have micro nurseries as well. We have one outside Caernarfon at the moment, but if more come forward with regard to the risk of plant health, we need to be safe for the future, just in case there are diseases in the future. The trick here is to achieve sufficient volumes to be able to do the work. You can't get there without getting somebody to do the work. So we're looking quite closely at how we can increase our capacity. We have nurseries now in Pembrokeshire who are growing for us, and we are taking all of their stock. And we're looking at smaller nurseries in Bangor, Jenny Wong there. We're taking all of their stock. So we're absorbing as much local province as we can. So if people want to establish their own nurseries, we would be very willing to buy their plants, because at the moment we can't fulfill our own needs between Ffermio Bro. And if the SFS is presented with their trees requirements, it's going to be a national problem then. But we are looking to increase capacity and supply. During the past few years, there's been a lot more demand, as well as planting hedgerows. At one time, there were so many seeds. It was a pity, really, that we weren't able to use most of those to plant things on for the future. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Rhys. Appreciated. Meryl, you mentioned 3 nurseries. Have you been in touch with the North Wales Wildlife Trust? I know they have one here, and I think the driveway have to have them as well. We're absorbing all of them at the moment. I just wanted to ask, just in case. Yes, these local connections are really important, and I thank you for that. It's great that we can demonstrate that there is a demand for the plants from these local groups, and they use what they want, and we take any surplus that they have, and it engages people with these schemes as well. Okay, then, thank you. If no one else wants to ask anything, so the recommendation is to accept the offers relating to both projects, but vigilance is required with the RPW claiming system. Can we have a proposal? Proposed and seconded. Can we have a show of hands, please? Okay, happy. Thank you. On to item 11, performance and resources minutes held on the 26th of November 2025. You've had the copy. Will anybody propose the minutes are correct, or do you have any questions in relation to those? Proposed. Do we have a seconder? And no one has seconded that. Can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. And the same in relation to item 12, local joint working group minutes. That was held on the 28th of November 2025. Will anybody propose that they are correct? Einir. Do we have a seconder? Ivor. Thank you. Can we have a show of hands, please? Item 11, has anybody attended any meetings on behalf of the authority since the last meeting? I attended the stakeholders group in Trawsfynydd. I'd like the chair on that group. Everybody happy? Tim?
Ond jyst i ddeud, o'n i yn y fforwm mynediad.
I attended the Northern Access Forum on Monday. It was a really interesting meeting. We discussed wild camping and how we're going to manage that, and how we deal with people going up Crib Goch, how we manage that, and how we put signage. And we have dynamics between the fact that we don't want signage on the mountain because people are removing them, but trying to stop people from going up there to a very dangerous place. And I think we found a way forward with a lot discussed. It's a really interesting forum between members of the community, landowners and users of Eryri. One new member, Paul Williams, has been appointed from NFU Cymru, and that will be interesting in the future. Thank you. Okay, if anybody is finished, the meeting has ended. Can I just come back on the 75-year celebrations? I've sat down with Arwel Elias and Johan, and they're keen for us to sit down with them and in relation to the arrangements with the 75. One is to start from Cadair Idris and on Wyddfa and meet each other. It's 95 kilometers. And what I would like from you is if you would send us an email to send on to Arwel and Johan, who would like to do what and where, and any ideas that you may have. If you were to just do walks a part of it, or if you'd like to bring friends along. It's just if you could email me and say I'm happy to walk part of it, or if you'd like to swim a lake, and rather than having really, they're talking about having a jigsaw, and everybody will be finishing at the same time in Plas Tân y Bwlch, and we'll be coming together there to celebrate the 75-year anniversary. Any contributions that you may have, so that I can send it on to Arwel and Iwan. Thank you for that. I'll be in the centre. I don't want to be on the left or on the right. Tom Ellis from Trawsfynydd has lost his wife recently, and I don't know, it would be quite nice for us to send Greta. He's lost his wife suddenly. If you could send them a card. Sorry for cutting across. Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
O'n cwestiwn, o'n i'n gwybod yr ateb iddo, oedd ddim eisiau chdi ateb, ddim eisiau ateb o. O ie. Oedd Cadeirydd, o'n i? Dwi'n eisiau chdi ateb, dwi'n rhaid ateb cwestiwn iddo. A dyna dwi'n rhaid ateb, dwi'n rhaid ateb byd o'n de. Mae'r ateb i, a dyn ni'n neud hynny, yn adran ni, sy'n gwneud hynny. Oedd ni'n dod o eithaf sef cyngor, ond gofio yn tai am blynedd sef cyngor. Byddwn ni'n mewn Ia, a fydd Dwi'n lwcus bod
Oes 'na issues, oes e?
Os yna wedi Sean yn ôl, felly dyna fo. Mae'n sôn am gychwyn o Benwydd Bach. Mae'n sôn i beithwyr a cerddwyr gychwyn o Benwydd Bach. A di sy'n efo, a dyn nhw'n mynd o beics, mynd o'r ben, yr i gris a pegyd erwydd. Ac yn dwi'n awr i anfo. Syniad a pawb gyrraedd yr ysgwr yn gyntaf, a mae'n rhaid un teiriad o'r ysgwr i'r plas de. Mae bysys na'n nes i ar 2 bws o dwytha dylid y frawd 70 ac athyn ni efo bus a tren o'n Gymru mewn 2 ddwrnod o gred a costio fyd dimas. Cychwyn o Penrhyn, o Mach i Allen o adar i Caerfyrddin, trwy Sefi, i'r gosgos o Travelodge, yr leid Alon Cymru yn ymwneud. Wedyn, ni'n gorfod siarad o'r ymwneud yn ôl i Mach.